Hi there, I'm Eli Sipka, and this is the Apatros Review. One more day until, actually, a little over a day before 2023 comes around. Interesting. I'm going to try to see how many of my reviews I can finish off this year. Now, in this episode, we take a look at an old 1991 film called Wizards of the Demon Sword. This is a Fred Olen Ray film. Now, most people would assume this is a direct-to-video film. It would fit for a direct-to-video title today, but this is actually theatrically released in the United States in June of 1991. Then it was released in Sweden. Hey, Sweden! It's Norwegian, Mac. Okay. In Sweden at the Stockholm International Film Festival in November 1993. Now, it was directed by Fred Olen Ray, written by Dan Golden and Ernest D. Farino. Ernest D. Farino, by the way, is a guy who's pretty much into visual effects. Worked on the first two Terminator films, and also made a really good film from 1991 called Steel and Lace. A really good B-horror film that you should track down. I've actually got the VHS, which I converted to DVD. Anyway. Now, it's produced by Grant Austin Waldman, and the cast includes Blake Badner, Heidi Payne, Lyle Wagner, Russ Tamblyn, Dawn Wildsmith, Dan Speaker, and John Henry Richardson. Also stars Lawrence Tierney, Michael Berryman, and Hokie Howell. Hokie Howell basically playing the Seer of Roebuck. Now, this is currently being held by Troma in terms of rights, and has been released onto Australian DVD during the early 2000s by Flashback Entertainment, which was another of their many cheap $2 to $5 recommended retail price discs. Quality was obviously VHS grade, and most of these Troma titles were pretty much VHS tapes of their non-Troma titles. But when I watched mine, I didn't see any significant issues outside the usual blocks you get when you do a cheap-ass analog to digital conversion from a decade-old VHS tape, from my observations. There were no subtitles or supplemental material on the disc, but I currently don't have my original disc to go too in-depth into it, so this is a film-only review. Not that it mattered too much. Anyway, now for the synopsis. While on his daily travels, the Master Warrior, with a huge-out sword, Thane of Hawksridge, rescues a damsel in distress from some of the men of Lord Cora, the local tyrant of a penchant for dabbling in the dark arts. The damsel he saves is Melina, the daughter of Ulrich the Elder, the last surviving guardian of the Blade of Actar, a magical crystal knife that allows its user to unleash great power, but whose usage necessitates plunging it into the heart of the user's most beloved person. Hey, it's the Dark Ages and foolproof plans are rather hard to come by. Her father has been abducted by Cora, and she needs a good strong man to help her mount a rescue mission. Obviously no feminists around back then. To do so, they need some important information, so they head off to see the Seer of Roebuck, the last of an ancient race of druids. Yes, the Seer of Roebuck. But at the same time, Cora has his top henchwoman, Selena, pretty much who passed for a feminist back then, go on her own personal quest to capture Melina and dispose of the troublesome Thane. Legendary B-grade science fiction, action, horror, and softcore and general movie schlock director Fred Olen Ray was a bit late to the party by making his fantasy flick back in 1990, which was released in 1991. Movie-making urban legend has it that Fred Olen Ray was initially making this to be a serious feature. But after getting rejected by Vincent Price, Jan Michael Vincent, and practically three-quarters of the B-movie scene of Hollywood, when it came to casting villains role here, Olen Ray finally got his villain cast with Lyle Wagner, sealing that deal the very night before shooting was due to begin. Once they started shooting, however, Wagner gave such a hilarious performance in the early scene that Fred Olen Ray decided, alright, this be a comedy now, and turned what could have been an atrociously tacky Z-grade barbarian flick you were supposed to take seriously into an atrociously tacky Z-grade barbarian flick you were not supposed to take at all seriously. So basically they turned it into a parody all because of one actor's performance. Truth be told, there are some out there who mistakenly take this to be a serious flick. I did when I first watched this a couple of years ago, without figuring out that the movie's jank was intentional. But once you find out this is a parody, it will go down a whole lot smoother, and professional Bad Movie Masochists like I am will enjoy this a whole lot more, knowing we're supposed to laugh our asses off at this one. On a technical level, the movie looks decent enough for something that was made with practically no gas money in the budget tank, but that's because unlike a lot of schlock directors, Fred Olen Ray is an extremely experienced filmmaker. He's made maybe like 100 films by now. He's been working since the 80s, and he knows how to get the most out of his shoestring budgets. Plus, he also knows how to have some fun and invite us in on the fun as well. The only difference between Fred Olen Ray and somebody like his good friend Jim Wynorski is that while both directors' films can be fairly classified as garbage by some out there, at the very least, Olen Ray invites us in on the joke, while Wynorski's movies are a bad joke he doesn't invite us in on. The story is an utter joke, to be expected, while the acting is as brutal as Blake Banner's massive sword, and I'm talking like one whole big sword, about as tall as he is. The dialogue is atrociously bad simplistic fantasy talk. The visual effects are very sparse, limited to cheap animation magic tricks, and stock footage of dinosaurs from a different flick spliced in, which doesn't actually look like it's from a different film at all. Fred Olen Ray knows how to charge things to his Penta Digit Express credit card without paying the moral interest. And the action scenes, almost all of which are punch-ups and sword fights, are hilarious to watch. This being a Fred Olen Ray movie, there are some of the inevitable boob shots here. Twice. One from an unknown extra, and one from Heidi Payne's secondary protagonist, when she's possessed and tries to kill a hero but fails. And while this is straight up trash, at least the little quirks essentially tell you, go ahead, laugh at me all you want, makes this a rather masochistically enjoyable bad movie. Still, it ain't so bad it's good, so the D 2 out of 10 is all I'm giving it. If it was actually serious, now I'll give it like a D minus, but you're supposed to laugh at it, so I'm going to give it a little reprieve to a D. Second lowest rating there. Also of note is a 5-minute cameo from horror's favourite Bald the Hills of Eyes villain and horror icon Michael Berryman as a highwayman. Now for gore nudity. Ever played sword fighting with your friends in primary school, and each time you get stabbed to death you simply place the sword under your armpit and fake being stabbed in the chest? Well, they do the exact same thing here, only it's more convincing here because Fred Olen Ray and the cinematographer know how to position the camera in just the right spot, and the performance sufficiently block the fight moves, so they practice the hell out of it, so it doesn't look too obvious. That said, very little blood is seen here. As for nudity, a pair of boobs from an unknown extra during the slave market scene, and another pair from Heidi Payne, who plays the hero's female psychic Melina, the damsel in distress. After she is temporarily possessed by Dawn Wildsmith, she tries to seduce Fame by taking her top off, with her back to the camera, then tries to stab our hero with his own dagger, her boobs briefly being visible, before Fane can start the possession of a good whack. Now this is available on DVD here in Australia from Flashback Entertainment, as I've already mentioned, but I haven't been able to find my disc somewhere. Although I did watch the print, I ripped off that particular disc on my laptop for archiving purposes, and the quality is on par with Flashback's early works. That Flashback disc has been long out of print. Flashback actually went out of business or something like before 2020 or so, and I don't know if this film has any other release. Well, so far I've checked DVD Compare for any listings, and there's no listings for this film at all. Not even for our disc. So that's interesting. I have reason to believe that our Australian disc of The Wizards of the Demon Sword is the only legit disc in existence. And I'm saying legit because there might be plenty of bootlegs out there of this film. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe a place like Asia or Eastern Europe, I don't know. Possibly. In fact, there might be some people watching from Eastern Europe who got this film in their collection. Anyway. So us Aussie Bad Movie Masochists for now are lucky in having this film. Anyway. So Wizards of Demon Swords gets a D, 2 out of 10. It's a bad film. Not so bad it's good. Not atrocious, just pretty much roundly bad. But you'll get some enjoyment out of this. Anyway. Okay, that's it for that review. I've got another episode another video to do, and that'll come up a few hours after this. I'm going to space them out by a couple hours. Got a lot to do. Anyway, hope you guys are staying safe. If you have any questions, just hit me in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer. Hope you guys enjoy yourselves, take it easy, and that's it for this review. See ya.